Hello and welcome to an idol called Food. Today, we're going to be speaking about something that I know you're going to be super interested in, so please don't go anywhere. Before I get started, I want to speak with you about the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. If you're looking to get in shape in record time, go to emptyyourbucketplan.com, schedule your free coaching consultation today, and get on the road to a healthier you, a sustainable way to not just lose weight, but actually to incorporate a lifestyle that is going to help you in all areas of life. I believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. Go to emptyyourbucketplan.com, start your journey today. Let's jump right into it. I'm excited because this is a subject that I am absolutely fascinated by. And the title of today's episode is How to Start to Heal from Food Dependency. How to start to heal from food dependency. I don't know about you, but most people think that they hear someone's addicted to food or someone is dependent on food. They think that that's not me. And so, of course, this title assumes that the person on the other side, you, me, has a dependency to food. Over the next couple of minutes here, what I want to do is not only prove to you 100% that most people have an emotional dependency on food, but also how to help you get over it, recognizing how to help you get over it. Okay. More importantly, I'm going to share an approach that can radically change how you think and act when it comes to food, especially if you feel out of control in this area. There's a quote that I absolutely love that I recently saw, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but here it goes anyway. There's no stronger enemy than the one you can't see, or even worse, the one that you don't know exists. I think I got that right. But man, that was so powerful to me. And when I heard it, I'm like 100%. There are so many people out there that are suffering with particular situations. They know they have a challenge and they're tackling it usually in the wrong way because they don't even know the problem they have. And if you don't know what problem you have, then how are you going to fix it, right? So that's what we're here for. And in order to sort of diagnose what I believe to be true for most of us, let me ask you a few questions that I believe are powerful. Are you constantly obsessing about food? Do you get upset and immediately reach for something to eat? Is food your go-to refuge when you're bored? Do you unwind with a glass of wine, some chips in front of a television? Do you daydream about being slim, but cringe at the idea of giving up the foods that you like and love so much? Does food control most of your waking moments? And lastly, do you resent people who can eat junk food and stay lean regardless of what they eat? By the way, if you've answered yes to 2 or more of these questions, congratulations, because you are human, my friend. Food is a fundamental part of our lives and it carries a profound emotional impact on our psyche. And for this reason, it often permeates our thoughts consistently. So if you're there, no worries. So am I often, but maybe not to the extent some people that, some of these people that say they have issues and they're gaining weight and now they're into the high blood pressure and their A1C levels are, out of whack. If you are there, then of course, this is even more challenging for you. So the definition of addiction is a chronic relapsing condition characterized by compulsive engagement in a substance behavior despite harmful consequences. So in terms of food, if you're constantly upset and you're reaching for food and that kind of becomes your safe haven and maybe you are 10, 20, 30, 100 pounds overweight, these things are harming you, but yet you continue to come back to these things. My friend, I'm here to say that there is a serious emotional dependency there. And this is not a criticism, but instead a way to call something out that oftentimes we don't realize. And so why do people become dependent on food? Why do we become dependent on food? I think first and foremost, I think that food is that mitigative tool that is safe because what's the alternative? Drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, promiscuity. I know that sounds a bit extreme, but think about it. Anytime that we have friction in our lives, we're looking for that dopamine hit. And oftentimes we find it in one of these things. And food is that sort of innocent drug that we have a tendency to justify with the idea, well, it's just food, right? I have to eat, right? Otherwise I would die. Whereas You don't have to do the drugs. You don't have to do the alcohol in order to stay alive. So I understand it's a double-edged sword, but I think oftentimes people become dependent on food because they're mitigating emotions, right? Another big one that I see, and I've been doing nutrition coaching now for I'm going almost on 25 years, so 2 decades of doing this. And so I think I have a little bit of data, a little bit of experience in situations that I've seen. People are avoiding tackling real life issues, right? It's easier to go and eat some donuts and have some momentary false security, because that's what it does. When you feel full, you have a sense of security, which is a false sense of security, right? You feel secure, at least for a couple of minutes, while that food is filling your stomach. You get that dopamine hit, right? You eat that thing you want so much and it feels so good, and it alleviates some of the friction. The other thing is, when we think about these things, when we think about people that smoke, that drink, that overeat, we think, why would someone smoke? Why would someone do drugs? Why would someone harm themselves with XYZ thing? And the truth is, we're looking for a state change, right? Anytime that we eat, we consume something, our biochemistry radically changes, right? And we're looking for a state change. Maybe we're bored, maybe we're angry, and we're looking to escape that particular state of mind. And we can do that through substances. And oftentimes food is that substance that we lean onto. Here's the interesting and sad one at the same time. I think that many people have a deep, deep longing for love. Maybe they didn't get it when they were kids. Maybe, maybe they have abandonment issues. I see a lot of people with abandonment issues that lean on food because they feel like that's a consistent companion. That's something that's always been there, that never fails them, that always fulfills on even 30 seconds, 60 seconds of pleasure, but it's consistent. And that's maybe been the only consistent thing in their lives. And so they're longing that love, that deep love. And oftentimes that comes in the form of, mitigating traumas. We have all these traumas from our childhood. The vast majority of people, 99.9% of people, to one extent or the other, have some kind of trauma that they're dealing with, mostly from childhood. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that when we are young, and we start to experience life, and we have hurts and pains and hangups, and we don't know how to interpret that in such a young mind because we haven't matured yet, that oftentimes these concepts may get misconstrued, right? Maybe your parents couldn't go to your sport, whatever sport you had an event, you had a soccer game, you had a baseball game, your parents couldn't show up, and you interpreted that as them not loving you, and all of a sudden you created this thing of something that wasn't there, and it hurts. And now you're an adult, and now you're mitigating all these emotions, and oftentimes that's how it happens. We also have, I believe, oftentimes a fear of missing out. I hear people that overeat have this fear of missing out. So if they see food or they see something yummy, they're like, oh, I can't miss out. I gotta have the ice cream, I gotta have the chips, I gotta have the thing. Creates all this anxiety, and it's sometimes it's this fear of missing out. Another really sad one, but very true, is people that have grown up in poverty or with any kind of scarcity in their lives. They have a tendency, now that maybe they have some financial security, they have a job, they're not lacking a roof and food on their table. When that food comes on the table, they think about the times when they were a kid and maybe they didn't have food, and now they want to eat everything that's in front of them. So these are many of the reasons why, we lean onto food. And so when that happens, we have a tendency to figure out, right, the thing that's going to alleviate that problem. And the first thing we do is we look at diets. If you live in America, you live in a place where diets are everywhere. The gurus are here, the books, you go to Barnes and Nobles, you go to any bookstore, and you see aisles and aisles and aisles of nutrition and how to get abs and the 5-minute this and the 5-minute legs, and everything is centered around fitness and nutrition in the US. And so, of course, we see this great marketing, and we say, okay, this is what I need. I just need to be more disciplined. I need to get on a diet. I need to exercise more. And to all that, I say yes. The challenge is that is not the thing that's going to sustainably help, right? Diets are rules, they're guidelines. And diets without the right mindset can do more harm than good. I've seen this. I've seen people come onto our program, do amazing on our programs, lose the weight, and then regain the weight. You think to yourself, how did that person regain the weight after they were so healthy? They saw their before and after picture. They felt great. They looked great. How did they do it? Well, that's a person that followed the rules, the guidelines. The guidelines work, but they never changed their mindset around food, right? They still had a dependency. In other words, they put a Band-Aid on a wound that needed stitches. And so diets are only 20% of the solution. 80% of that solution has to do with cognitive processes, how you think about food, being introspective, finding a strong why, understanding why you're mitigating certain things with food, really getting deep and starting to answer those questions. Because until you do that, you're just going to chase your tail and you're going to be in a million different diets. Nothing's going to work for you. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to think you're big boned, or you just don't lose weight, or weight loss is not for you. And nothing can be further from the truth, or you blame it on other things. I have hormonal issues. And I'm not saying that these things can't stop you from losing weight or that you've gained weight because of these things, but that only really happens in 1 or 2% of the situation. The vast majority of people that are suffering from obesity and all these issues that are related to their nutrition have to do with what they're eating. The best proof of that I have for you is the Holocaust. If you look at the Holocaust and you look at every single one of those prisoners, most of those prisoners had hormonal issues because they were in starvation mode. And yet, show me a picture of someone in the Holocaust that was obese. So we realize that oftentimes what is happening around our waist is a manifestation of the things that we are doing in the form of our habits. I know that stings a little bit, but please hear me out. My intention is not to hurt or to be offensive. My intention here is to really point something out so that we can actually go after the real challenge and not chase it with a bunch of fad diets and get frustrated and then expect for things to change. And we just keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So if this has been a bit dark and morbid and you're thinking, man, this is super negative and how do I fix this? That's a great question. I think nutrition truly needs a multidisciplinary approach if you want to heal from overeating, binge eating, emotional eating, any of the things that are plaguing you when it comes to food. There has to be a multidisciplinary approach. There has to be counseling. By the way, counseling, 90% of people that seek counseling for weight loss issues have a greater chance of recovering from any kind of situation related to food through counseling than they do through working with a nutritionist or a dietitian. Why? Because once again, it's a cognitive issue, right? It comes from deep-rooted trauma. So counseling and coaching, if done together, can be very, very powerful. And anyone that's going through a process of recovery needs hyper accountability. You need a third unbiased party that can keep you accountable to the things you said you were going to do when you were excited. That is huge. One other thing that needs to happen is we can't change our habits in an environment that produce those habits. I think it was Einstein that said, you can't fix a problem with the mindset you created it. You are in fertile ground for eating junk food because you open up your cabinets and you have chips and you have ice cream and you have all these high caloric foods and you think that you're going to discipline yourself this time. Think again. You're going to fail over and over again. You have to purge your environment. You have to have healthy things so that when the temptation comes, you don't have access to those things. It's common sense, but I know oftentimes it just kind of goes over our head. And then of course, we got to take inventory of people, places, and things. Very hard to change our habits if we're hanging out around the wrong people, the wrong places. We're still leaning onto things and crutches in order to overcome situations. We have to face the music. We have to take inventory. And I can tell you that one of the hardest things in this recovery process is sometimes getting away from people we really, really love. I had to do that many years ago. I wasn't struggling with food. I was struggling with other vices. And I had to look at people that I loved and cared for and simply say, this relationship doesn't benefit me anymore. I had to be a little bit selfish there for a while and remove myself until I had the willpower and the discipline to be able to be around these people again without being necessarily influenced by the things that they were doing. So that's a really, really important part. The other thing is you have to like the process. You have to like the diet, the program you're on. You have to feel good about the approach. If you're constantly fighting against the current because you're on a very strict diet or you're on a very strict exercise regimen, let me tell you, it's not going to last very long. We need to find what I call the domino effect hacks, right? Things that piggyback off of each other. So when you do cardio, you start to breathe better. When you start to breathe better, from your diaphragm, you start to sleep better. When you start to sleep better, you're less stressed. When you're less stressed, you crave less things. When you crave less things, you eat less. When you eat less, you lose weight. And I can go on and on and on and on with this domino effect idea. But it's beautiful when you start to identify what those domino situations in your life are. And so finding things that contribute to the positive, right? And that piggyback off of each other and create this domino effect is huge. Running away from hard things, okay? Once again, if the diet is too hard, it's going to awaken, right? The guard dog of your brain, that part of your brain that says, I don't want anything hard, anything that will ridicule me, anything that will put me in danger. Your brain will push away. It'll do it once or twice, but it's not going to repeat that behavior if it feels like it's threatened, because your mind, your brain is a survival mechanism, and it's there to keep you alive. So hard workouts and things like that will work for a little while, but not very long. So we want to stay away. We want to run away from hard things. And we want to make sure that we find something that we know works for the long run, something that consistently, hey, maybe I'm not going to do it in 3, 6, or 12 months, but you know what? This is easy enough for me that I can be in this for the long run. I can wait 12 months to see results. I'm going to consistently do it. It's not going to be anything hard, but it's going to be consistent. And if you can find something like that, my friend, you can find a coach that guides you through this process. You can find a coach that can hold you accountable, a coach that understands this whole multidisciplinary approach of counseling and coaching, and can bring all this together for you. Let me tell you, it is a powerful, powerful tool to change. And I'm going to be a little biased here and give ourselves a little plug here, but the Empty Your Bucket Plan is exactly that. This is why I know this. I've been in the industry for 2 decades. I've seen it all. I've seen all the different programs out there, and I have yet to see a program that is more comprehensive than the EYB Nutrition Plan. And I know, once again, it's coming from me. I'm the founder of the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan, but I wanted to explain why I believe that our approach is the most sustainable approach in the marketplace, because it covers so many different areas that people are struggling with, especially when it comes to this thing of weight loss. I thought this was going to be a shorter video, but I really wanted to get everything out and explain myself and tell you why there is hope on the other side. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have to go back, take some notes, I highly recommend you do that. More importantly, I hope you put it to action. My name is JT Tapias with an idol called food. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.